Alright, so I did this little dealy thing here before I left, but I wasn't happy with the quality of it, and someone mentioned I actually cut a part of it off, apparently. So I'm gonna redo it, and I'm using XSplit, which is in public beta right now. You can get a 70% discount if you sign up for the beta um, on the release product. It's a good product, I really do like it, but yeah. So I'm using XSplit to record this, so hopefully it looks good. It looks good in the preview screen over on my right here. Show it to you. Get like some stream or video inception going on here. Whoops. Whoopsie. There we go. Didn't mean to do that. I am professional. So here is your standard screen. Default is, if you're first time launching it, default is what you're going to see. And as you launch things that it's capable of, what is it called? Hooking onto, I believe is what it's called. Um, they will make a profile up here and you can edit them all separately. But this is your target information. When you launch something, a whole bunch of stuff you don't need to care about will pop up in here. Nothing really important there. Here's the overlay, fairly self-explanatory. You can set frames. Video FPS is what the game is outputting. Write file FPS is what is being writ to your file. Wrote to your file, I guess. I don't know. Record status is I can't quite recall what that is, but it's not too important. And folder is probably the most important thing here. What basically this is where your files will be saved. To be optimal, you want to have multiple hard drives. I do not. C and E are the same hard drive. My old hard drive, which was D, is now dead. As far as I'm concerned, the write speed wasn't good enough to record anything anyway. So that limits what I'm able to record and the quality at which I'm able to record. Because I'm using the hard drive for the game and I'm also using the hard drive to record to. So that creates somewhat of a problem. But basically you click add folder, you go to whatever, E drive for instance, and then you add it. And then you can click on this benchmark thing and run a benchmark, which isn't going to be optimal since I am actually recording at the same time. So I probably shouldn't do that. But you run it, and then when it's done, you can click OK, and it'll save your write speed there. For 1080p video, 1920 by 1080, or higher, you want to have at least 100 megabyte per second speeds. For 720p, you can get away with 40 or 50. I have 80 on this drive. This is my newer drive. But keep in mind it's being used by other things. And you can check which folder you want to use. You can have a whole bunch of different folders. Like you can have C/recordings / Final Fantasy 9 and then /World of Tanks. So you can keep all your stuff organized that way, which I don't really give a crap about, so I just leave it at recordings. But here's the kicker, and I'll show you a little bit later. Well, I won't show you really anything, but it's basic explanation of how to work this. If you have multiple hard drives, like say you have your C drive for Windows, and then you have a D and E drive, which are separate actual hard disks, you can actually record to both of those hard drives at the same time. So, and this is hotkeys, by the way, so it's nothing really important. So let's say you have multiple hard drives. You go over to Movie, and you'll actually select the raw cap format. And what that does is it saves, basically it'll save a .00 file to the first drive, and then a .001 file to the second drive, and then 002 for third drive, etc., etc. And then for the next file you make, it'll start back over at 0001. So basically, it splits your file into a bunch of different segments, and you have this little purple button down here that's raw cap conversion. I'll open it. You probably won't. You will be able to see it nice. And any raw caps you have will show up in here, and you can build the files. It'll show you previews and stuff like that. So all you need for that is in here. But if you have one, just use AVI. But anyway, this is the codec you want to use. I used to have a whole bunch more, but I had a Windows reinstall. The Dxtory video codec works fine. I have it on low quality. To be honest, you won't notice really any difference between low quality and high quality. True quality is fantastic, but high quality, medium, and low quality are all relatively similar, and you can compress it if you need to. I don't recommend compressing it, and you can set your frame rate that you want to record at here. YouTube is 30, so I just record everything at 30. For scaling, usually I use 1280 by 720 in size, because with percentages you can end up with some weird video sizes. But, you know, whatever, it doesn't really matter. You can have clipping if you need to chop off just segments around the video, like you can chop off this Dxtory part at the top, if Dxtory was capable of recording itself, which it is not. By the way, it only works with DirectX or OpenGL. Anything else will not work. It can't record the desktop. It can't record HTML5 or stuff like that. So you got to keep that in mind. And if you don't know what Direct Show is, don't click it. You can use this to, for instance, output to XSplit, which is kind of cool. Like you can have one little, what should I say? You can have DirectXtory or Dxtory. I don't know why I said DirectXtory. I guess that's what it is. But Dxtory, you can have that recording, for instance, World of Tanks, have it output to a Direct Show output, and then pick it up in XSplit, which is over here again. Pick it up in this with the add and then Dxtory videos you see here. And then you can resize the frame. I can do it in video. You see, you can resize it, you can move it around, whatever. Hopefully that picked up properly and didn't break anything. And then you can have, you know, your gameplay footage on the left side over here, and then you can have, you know, like a whatever XSplit is recording, because it can obviously record frame section or sections of the screen. Like you can have a chat for a stream or something being recorded on the right side, so people can see that or whatever. So it's pretty cool like that. You can. I've tested it before. I'll probably start streaming eventually, not now, but you know, eventually I'll start streaming. Probably World of Tanks and stuff like that whenever I stop recording those. Which will happen. And here's the cool thing about this, which is why I prefer it over Fraps, is you can have multiple audio streams for each audio component that you want. Like for instance, I have my speakers at audio stream 1, and I have my microphone at audio stream 2. And what this means is it creates two separate audio files, if you will, or well, it's basically two separate audio streams. But for simplicity's sake, it creates two audio files and a video file, and it combines all of that into one AVI file. So if you were to open it in, you know, Sony Vegas, for instance, my voice will be editable separately from my game audio, as opposed to Fraps, where it's all bunched into one stream. Which means if I'm loud or the game's loud, I can modify it and stuff like that. And you know, it's pretty cool. I usually just left it on default. PCM 4816 works fine. But you want to make sure you have both of them at the same audio codecs and stuff. It's not required, but for simplicity's sake, just keep them all the same. And here's screenshot settings. It's basically the same as the video, except high speed auto repeat, file format, stuff like that. Not really going to explain that. Advanced settings, if you don't know what any of these do, don't click them. It's possible to completely break the Dxtory program by clicking on these things improperly. Limit video FPS you can use if you want. It's basically like a sync, the max frame per second you can have. Also forget to mention something in movie here. You can synchronize your video frames per second, just like Fraps does, where it locks your recording with your frame rate. Or you can record separately from the frame rate and just limit the video frame rate to, you know, 60, 25, 800 million, whatever you want to. And processing threads, I typically leave it at 2. That's how many threads are used to encode or compress and stuff like that. Don't put all of them on there, because that'll risk killing your gameplay speeds. And global settings, check update, blah blah, profile size. You can change it to whatever. I'm probably going to leave it on medium now that I realize that. Disable print screen, blah blah. And here's your registration information. Registered stuff like that. When you buy it, you'll get a registration file that you can use to register it. But that is the basic explanation of that, and I want to show you something if I can here. No, I can't. Well, I was going to show you what pops up when you record, but I'll basically describe it here as the phone goes off. You have your video frames per second here that the game is outputting, and then when you record, you'll have a file right here. It'll say file, and that's all it says, and then the write file frames per second. If your write file frames per second is going extremely low, that means either your hard drive is too crappy, or you don't have enough processing power to record. So yeah, you got to keep that in mind. But that's my basic explanation of this. If you have a question, don't call me because I probably won't answer it if I'm recording. But if you have a question about it, just feel free to ask me. I'll try and explain it the best I can. It's really not a complicated program once you understand what you're doing. But I will see you guys later. If I can end the stupid recording. Here we go. See you guys next time.